Hey study squad, it's me Anjy. I'm sorry that I don't look as put together as normal. In case you haven't noticed from my bare walls, I'm having an existential crisis. Don't worry, I'll figure this out. I just checked and I saw that I have 500 subscribers, so I wanted to tell you guys a huge, enormous thank you. I honestly, all I can say is thank you. I'm so appreciative of all the kind words in the comments, of people engaging with me, of the thumbs up, of people in my DMs emailing me. I really appreciate all your messages and I'm so grateful, and I feel blessed that I've been able to help people, because I feel as though even if I help just one person, that these videos are worth making. With that said, I realized from comments under a different video, maybe 2 or 3 videos ago, I haven't actually released this video even though I filmed it maybe 2 or 3 times. English language and literature. With that said, we should probably get started. So I'm going to start with English language because it is considerably easier. My grades in English language suggest I find it easier. I tend to drop 1 or no marks in English language. I find it quite easy. I know question 3 can be a bit not so great for a lot of people, but with me it's very easy. For creative writing, which is question 5, I use drops. DROPS, which is devices, like literary devices like alliteration, sibilance, range, so a range of punctuation, a range of sentence types and lengths. So you might have a compound, minor, simple, complex sentence here and there. DRO. Openings and closings. You need to think about them. Are we having flashbacks? Is it cyclical? Do we have dual narrative? Like, what's going on? You have to think about them. DROP. I'm great at spelling. P. Passion and voice. Is it passive? Is it very active? Is it very sad and solemn? Is it happy? Is it what's going on? And S is for structure. Like I mentioned, cyclical structure, you might want to have a 1-word paragraph, a 1-sentence paragraph. And instead of indentation, definitely use lines to separate so it's a lot easier. For me, this is the only 2 things that I use to revise English language. They have this book for grade 3, 5 and 9. By use, I mean read over. I don't really like doing the exercises in this because I wouldn't say I'm lazy, but because I don't really struggle with English language, I don't revise it as much. And these are also very, very thin textbooks, and I kind of want to save some of my revision for study leave and next year, because I am getting quite ahead right now and I can feel myself running out of resources. When it comes to the other questions in paper 1 and paper 2, I would say literally just practice. Get your teacher, get an older student to help you with that, because practice makes perfect. Every teacher will have their own methods for devices, and if, for example, you don't have an English teacher teaching you English for whatever reason, you can always go online, because lots of schools have their lessons on their websites, and that's what I do a lot of the time, especially for like literature, poetry. If I want to find something, I will go online, I'll search PDF or I will search PowerPoint at the end and it will come up, which is great. I think that's pretty much everything to say for language. I'm looking at my books now. CGP, I know that if you struggle with subjects, CGP are good, and I have a CGP revision guide for language, but I don't use it. I didn't realize I had it until just now. From what I know, because I know some of my friends use it, they really like it. I will probably use it closer to my actual exams, because like I said, I'm not trying to run out of stuff, because even though I'm not burning out, I'm running out. Well, not that I'm burning out, I'm just questioning the meaning of life, questioning if anything makes sense, questioning what actually matters to me anymore, questioning whether my identity is found in my intelligence. Anyway, English literature. So with literature, when I answer questions, I use SQILERCC, SQILERCC. Great at spelling. S is for statement. Try and be creative. Of course you can go with the easy statement. Shakespeare presents Romeo. No, I don't believe in Romeo. Shakespeare presents Macbeth as a tragic hero. Great statement. Very simple. But you could flip the script. You could try and be more creative. You could be like, by using insert literary device, name of author, creates the image, creates a perception, illustrates that, character is thing. So by the use of assonance in Act 3, Scene 1, Shakespeare develops the idea of Romeo having a changeable nature, personality. Try and be a bit more creative. Of course, the normal simple statement works as well, because I've used both and I've got good marks with both, but it's gonna make you stand out to the examiner, and they're gonna be like, I see you, I see what you're doing, you're creative, huh? So S is for statement, Q is for quotation. That's pretty obvious. You just write your quote. Try to embed your quotes. Technically you don't have to for GCSE, but embedded quotes just look nicer, they feel nicer. So embedded quotes, instead of starting a sentence with 2 households both alike in dignity, you could say, what can you analyze about 2 households both alike in dignity? Okay, you could say, the statement, 2 households both alike in dignity, is explicit and says blah 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 blah. Or you could say, let's go to Pride and Prejudice, because I know those quotes better. The past participle struggled in vain I have struggled, or suffered, or whatever Darcy says. You have to say what it is and then put it in. It's like a sandwich. That sounds really nice. So statement, quote, inference and language, the SQILERCC. So inference, what can you infer? What do you understand from this? It should be L then I, in my opinion, because that's what I do. I pick out the literary devices or language devices, whatever you want L to stand for. Then I infer from that. I'm like, it's ambiguous. It creates this idea, this tone, this image, suggests this idea, this ideal. So statement, your quote that's embedded. You pick out the literary devices and you infer. I would say go for 3. My English teacher calls them juicy if they are. If there are 3 things you can analyze in a quote, she calls them juicy. I don't like the sound of that, juicy quotes, but juicy quotes. Think about 3 literary things you can have. So statement, quote, inference, language. E, evaluation. Shakespeare successfully creates this image. Successfully is the easiest way of doing it. Author, successfully, unsuccessfully, well. A description of how well or not well they do a certain thing. Evaluate. SQILE. R, reader or audience. So you have to say, this makes the reader feel, this makes the audience believe. Definitely mention contemporary and modern. So this makes modern audiences feel uncomfortable because it's a feminist age, or this is appalling to contemporary audiences because women were not meant to walk alone, let alone walk miles and ruin her skirt, okay? Elizabeth really shouldn't have done that. Reader, audience, say how it makes them feel. Don't say I think, I feel. You are the reader, so just put reader. SQILER. C, context. So there are different types of context and you can look into them. Religious context, cultural context, historical context, etc, etc, etc. But context is context, it's context. Any context you have. You could say the feud between the Montagues and Capulets would have resonated with contemporary audiences because at the time, because it was Elizabethan England, there was beef between the Protestants and the Catholics. Don't say there was beef between them in your exam. That is not a good idea. But you could use context saying, the use of religious imagery in Shakespeare's piece shows that, blah, 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 blah. The fact that Romeo and Juliet did this, blah, 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 shows that this, blah, blah, blah. Religion, suicide is a sin according to Catholicism in Elizabethan England. Everyone would have been shook to the core. But author context, that's one of my favourite things to do. Some may say that the author wrote this because of her own personal struggles, because as a result of the class system in Gregorian or Regency England, she could not be with her secret lover Tom Lefroy, so Austen was pretty mad, etc, etc. Use context, learn a few things that could apply to any theme, that's what I would say. SQILERCC. C, cross-referencing. If you can, cross-reference. So you're already going to cross-reference between the text you're given and the wider play, but if you say, have a question, is Romeo a tragic hero? You could cross-reference to Macbeth and be like, Macbeth is a tragic hero because he said, I'm going to keep on going till off my bones flesh be hacked. But Romeo just killed himself. And the method he used to kill himself wasn't even a respectable way. Because context, historical context, religious context, one, suicide was a sin. However, in different cultures, i.e. Japanese cultures, if you killed yourself by doing this method, then it was more respectable than other methods. Therefore, Romeo, you're a mess. Like, cross-reference if you can. Or Mary Shelley's mum, what was her mum called? Her mum was this really influential feminist. You could cross-reference there. But the last C, normally I would say that it would be a critic quote instead of cross-referencing, because a lot of the time cross-referencing can be hard. So instead you could say, a critic once said, every person in Pride and Prejudice has their financial status very public because Austen cares a lot about this. Was it even Austen? Yeah, Jane Austen. And using a critic quote shows that you are next level, and the examiner's going to be like, oh, so you study, huh? Okay, I see. That's good. My final tip for literature would probably be, think about using a quote in your conclusion. I wasn't going to share this with you because it's my little method, but I always find a way to get the first quote into my conclusion for Pride and Prejudice, for example. So I'll be like, maybe Austen is saying there is no truth that's universal. If you know Pride and Prejudice, you know that is a reference, a very bad pun actually, about the first line in the book. If you use a quote in the conclusion, if you can, you don't have to, it's creative, it makes you memorable, you stand out to the examiners and they're like, okay. And they might even chuckle because bad puns make people chuckle. With that said, that's how I structure my English language and literature. That's not how I revise. If you want a video on how I revise, comment below, I can get that out to you. I'm gonna figure out the meaning of life and revise chemistry. Not simultaneously though. With that said, thank you again for 500 subscribers. Make sure you smile. I'm gonna try and smile and figure out this existential crisis. Subscribe right here. Study hard, slay hard. See you again very soon. Bye.